Okay.
Phone is on silent.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm going on flight mode.
Oh yeah, I'll put mine on flight mode. Oh god, I just fucking want to bin this thing. So I'm used to having TMs and stuff with holding absence, and I forgot.
Here we go. Here's the rock.
I know.
Here's the rock star.
But, like,
I'm used to having staff.
I never for ages I was like, oh fucking TM in. It's just like you don't need a TM. Like we didn't for holding absence really, but we all got lazy.
Yeah.
And when one person in a band gets lazy, that makes everyone lazy. Do you know what I mean? It's like. So people start hiding for load-ins and load-outs, and then before you know it, there's just nobody left to do either.
Right.
But it's back to fucking square one now, and it's just like constantly people being like, "What's the code for this door? Where's the Wi-Fi for this? What's that?" And it's just like,
oh, so you've assumed tour manager
your phone,
right?
But it's also promoters, just things that they don't really need to know until the day. On like smaller shows, it doesn't matter. It's just like we'll just arrive at 4 and we'll just see what happens.
Right.
But it's a lot of that.
Oh. Okay. I like that though. I'm just used to that. I'm used to having this road.
Oh, fuck's sake, I'm right. Glad we're not recording.
I get we are, aren't we? Yeah. I could tell when you started that, Harry was like, this is good shit. We're going to get this in. We do this. We sort of sneak up on you. Yeah, I get a bit like that with this stuff. Like when people ask me to like, oh, will you come and do this event or that event? Or like I always have to say to them, okay, if you go on the website and you look for my mugshot and you scroll down, you'll find my assistant's email address.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Go through my assistant and everything's fine. And I always feel like such a dickhead. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But it's like these roles exist for a reason because there's so much like micromanaging bullshit that you don't have the mental CPU for to just like you need someone to be like, okay, Andy, you're due here at 11 o'clock tomorrow. Do you remember? Oh, yes, thank you. Who am I meeting? Oh, her name's Anne. This is her number. Do you know what I mean? It's just like,
for sure.
I need a bit of babysitting. We all need a bit of babysitting.
Absolutely.
I think. But yeah, I've wanted to get you guys on the podcast for ages because I know you're not that far away because you're only you're not in Bristol, you're in Wales.
Yeah, Cardiff.
Yeah.
And you messaged me the other day saying, oh, I'm with Will from Creeper and he wants to meet you about this punk rock mayor shit.
Yeah, well, we were talking about how we were sort of looking at the routing, and I think because he is so busy, well, obviously he hasn't been for the past 2 years, but because he's so busy, he hadn't really looked at the routing much. He was looking, he was like, Vroom, that's a strange one. And I think because it's not because it's not on every tour poster, it is going to make someone go like, what's that then? And out of nowhere, I was like, I know the mayor of Vroom. and I gave him, I bigged you up. I was like, he's a punk rock mayor. Like, you look at his picture. And I was like, and he was like, I need to meet this guy. So that's why I thought, yeah. Let's get you down.
I haven't met him yet. He's sleeping at the moment, isn't he?
That's
so, yeah, I'm actually looking forward to meeting him. I was listening to some Creeper earlier, the last two, because I bought that From Here to Eternity album when it came out. And I liked that. And I hadn't caught up with the last two albums I was listening to earlier. So good.
Yeah.
They're so good.
Have you listened to Salem yet?
Yes, we were listening to a little bit earlier on.
Cool.
It's great. It's just like poppy, hooky, melodies under sort of like angry boy music. I love it.
Yeah.
It's amazing. But yeah, great to get you on. And when you were like, oh yeah, we're playing in Frome on Sunday, first of all, I was like, how do I not fucking know this?
Yeah.
How do I not know this?
Yeah.
And then I was like, all right, let's message Harry straight away. I was like, Harry, we're gonna get a pod, a studio set up, and we're gonna get this done while they're here.
Nicely
so
done.
we don't have to travel to Wales. Where are you in Wales, Cardiff?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It's a nice day out if you do want to travel for another one.
Yes. Yeah, well, yeah, we might. We're thinking about doing some on the road stuff, aren't we? I want to go to London and get I want to get Dave Courtney.
Oh yeah.
You know, the gangster.
Yeah.
I spoke to him on FaceTime
No way.
last year. And he was like, yeah, mate, oh yeah, we'll sort it out, yeah. Right, mate, oh, I'm a bit pissed, so we won't talk money now.
Amazing.
So yeah, we need to get on the road a little bit and get some stuff in London done and hang out with some gangsters.
Yes.
So tell me about the Cold Gun. It seems to be going very well. Like immediately seemed to be going very well. Like as soon as you guys announced it was a thing, It was like, straight away BBC representation and all that. And I'm guessing that some of that comes from your having been in Holding Absence. How quickly did that come together?
Well, I guess from the outside it looked like that, but obviously we started the band about 6 months before the pandemic. So we started the band whilst I was still touring with Holding Absence, and we were chipping away at it in any bit of free time either of us had. And then throughout the 2 years of being in lockdown, and so to us it doesn't feel like it came that quick, but I think we worked hard to try and make it look that way. You know, it's very much like I always say it's a bit like a swan. You know, like people only see the cool, you're on radio. What people don't see like us in the garage, just like trying to figure out how to turn on our amps. Do you know what I mean? Like.
They do say that, don't they, about stuff that like appears to be like an overnight success. It's like, oh yeah, but you haven't seen the 5 years of grind before that when no one gave a shit, or you know that it wasn't out there, and then all of a sudden, you know, when people start caring, it looks like it's just come out of nowhere. And I'm always like, although I know that, when I see documentaries about people that have like been perceived to have just blown up, I'm always always shocked by like, oh, there was 10 years before that. And it's like, yeah, you know this, Andy. You've been doing this stuff as well. Like,
dude, I'm obsessed with, it's quite a bad thing. I think it's just because I'm getting closer to 30 now, but I'm obsessed with Googling people and Googling their ages and seeing when they did their good bit of work. Like, I'm like, oh, it's fine. Biffy Clyro didn't do anything good until they were all 27. Or I'm constantly trying to like find reasons to like keep chasing the dream.
Right. I mean, this happened to me the other day. Is Machine Gun Kelly? I've not got any real opinion on his music or anything, but like, I follow his Instagram because I find his life a bit fascinating. Yeah. Like, it's not real, is it? It's not real. It's not like a real life, but it is his real life.
Did you hear about that Megan Fox thing?
I know he's with Megan Fox.
But apparently he had a poster in his bedroom of Megan Fox when he was like 15. Like a sexy poster. But they're not. I was with her.
But they're not that far apart in age. Yeah. She's a bit older. But the point I'm getting at is he's like 32 or something, or maybe he's 30. Maybe she's 34. And I was thinking, oh my God, like this guy is like a Gen Z hero, but he's 30 something. And it made me a bit sort of like, because I'm 29 and I think to myself,
are you thinking of being a Gen Z hero?
No, but I'm thinking about like, if I was doing what he's doing at 32, I'd just feel a bit embarrassed about it.
Yeah, dude.
I'd just be like, this is weird. Like, I'm a grown man acting like a teenager. But it's working for him, innit?
Dude, the amount of bands that Holding Absence toured with, and there's guys between the age of 30 and 40. And, you know, I don't want to badmouth them, but you can tell it's soul-destroying having to be the same guy. Some of these guys blew up when they were like 18, and then they've just toured for like 10 plus years on the stuff they did when they were 18.
Right.
And you can tell there's this element of like, they just feel weird about it, and it's like this it's just such a strange vibe.
Right.
For a 30-year-old man to be playing to, you know, real youngsters and playing songs that he wrote when he was like 18 about being an angsty teenager.
Right.
It's a strange one.
It is odd, isn't it? It is strange. And I don't know, there's so many artists out there that as their career develops, they manage to reinvent or mature and distill what they're doing. But there are people that just become their character. Like some of these guys that you're talking about, they will probably be like, I don't know what else to be now. Like, this is my shtick. And they probably have a feeling that like, if they were anything else, if they changed or became a more authentic version of themselves, that maybe they would be like rejected.
Yeah, it's a risk, isn't it? You like that's probably the hardest part about being a successful musician is the best bands ever were all the bands that took the biggest risks. But then when you're in a band, especially if it's going well, that risk it's either gonna make you one of the greatest ever bands, or it's just gonna make you jobless.
Right. Yeah,
Back
it's
in
interesting.
Tesco. Yeah.
Yeah, it is weird. Yeah, it is weird. So back to the formation. What was the vision that you had in your head when you were in Holding Absence, which is obviously really it's a dense sound, isn't it? And this it's still full on. It's still in your face. It's still filling that stereo image, for lack of a better term.
For sure.
But it's different, isn't it? So was this an itch to do something more in your personal roots, or because I see you're wearing a Bad Brains thing, you've always been rapping the punk rock thing over the years, and I feel like in some ways, like with Guns N' Roses, like Duff McKagan was like always the punk, but they're not really a punk band. So was there a part of this with Cold Gun where it was like, okay, let's try and do something that's more like what we're personally inspired by, separate to because you've dept with Holding Absence and stuff as well, so you've been in that realm with them. So yeah, what is the genesis of that?
Sorry. You go.
No, yeah, I was going to say, with other bands before, I think with this one, we had like 6 months to a year where like we knew we wanted to do a band together, because like being in other bands and depping with Holding Absence as well, like we just got on really well. Enjoyed playing together, enjoyed hanging out with together, kind of thing. And we just got in the garage and just played music. We came up with some terrible songs to start with, and there was a lot of figuring out, because I think it was more.
There was a period where we were influenced heavily by one particular French grunge band, and I was just like, we need this is every now and again you find a band, and for that week you're like, this is it, I found the perfect, this is exactly what I was looking for. And then like a week later you're like, okay, maybe it wasn't.
Okay, who was this French grunge
Do you remember
band?
what they were called? They were called Acme, AQME.
Right.
They are still good, but it was
a good band.
It was a weird turn of like, this is it. This is the blueprint. This band.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, there was a lot of figuring out kind of what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
And it just ended up being just loud and fast, and that's the stuff we enjoyed, and the stuff we like played when we were kids as well. Just like growing up, just thrashing about on guitar, like especially going from like we got no tracks or anything. It's literally just 4 instruments just plugged in, no messing about.
Yeah,
just riffs.
Yeah.
So the bands that you grew up listening to, if you had to take the two of those bands and they had a musical baby, that's such a cliche, isn't it? Musical baby, and that is James and Cold Gun. Who's the parents?
They're such big bands, so it's never that cool of an answer. But generally, I do think it is. It's probably early Foo Fighters and Queens of the Stone Age. Mm-hmm. If you're looking for that, is you know what it's like when you get older, you want to stay like really cool, like, oh, I'm into like a post-punk band. You'll never hear of it. You've never heard of it, man. Like, it's probably Foo Fighters. Everyone loves Dave Grohl.
Right. Yeah.
I see it's that like a mix of like some like the Hives as well, that kind of like party kind of energy, like because we do get like obviously some like nods to Queens of the Stone Age and everything, but it's like it's less stonery, like a bit faster as well. It's not as like kind of
a non-stoned Queens of the Stone Age.
Right. Well, I get that when I've the stuff from you that I've heard, it definitely has. It's got a high energy. There's no like we're in the desert. There's no like we've come from the desert with Caius. Queens of the Stone Age. It's got that, like you said, that Hives. That Hives vibe where it almost feels like a bit of a party. And it all sounds like you guys are sort of like bouncing around the studio while you're playing. It's all like sort of high energy.
Well, the set's so fast as well. Like every single song we have is just a fast song. So you get up at like, we're just knackered by the end of it. It's like 25 minutes of just straight down picking.
Right.
we weren't necessarily influenced by them when we started. We like these bands, but a few people have said like we sort of sound like that whole... the like Rocket from the Crypt and like sort of like Fu Manchu, that whole kind of just guitar rock, everything fast and down and like riffy sort of stuff. And they're probably right. It's actually quite nice when people start to tell you what your band sounds like.
Right.
Because sometimes you don't have a clue. You're just like, well, I don't know, we're just doing our thing.
Have you had anyone tell you that your band sounds like so-and-so and you've actually not been pleased by that? Because I've had that before. I can't remember what it was.
I don't know if you heard them, but yesterday, some dude came up to you and he like hugged you and he was like, "Man, you're awesome. You sound like Less Than Jake." And I was and I was just like, that's just wrong. Like no, there's nothing wrong with Less Than Jake. I can enjoy a bit of ska every now and again.
Yeah,
it's just like this is a bad take, man.
Yeah, it kind of just like went over my head a bit because I was like, I just wasn't expecting that kind of.
Yeah. It just comes out and Less Than Jake.
Oh yeah, cheers, man. Yeah, I'll take that. Yeah.
Dude, yeah, it's odd, isn't it? What people hear in, because obviously another cliche is when people go, "Oh, these songs don't belong to me anymore." Do you know what I mean? Like they're up there now for the people, and it's a bit like, "Oh, fuck off." But it is. But there's a degree of that in there, isn't it? Once you've put that out into the world, I guess there is a wrong and a right and a wrong answer to that stuff. But it's like if someone comes over to you and goes, "Oh man, you remind me of Less Than Jake," then you can't go, "No, we don't."
Don't say that again.
Don't fucking say that again.
I suppose it's a case of reading the room. Like if the guy looked chuffed that we sounded like Less Than Jake, so our natural response is, brilliant.
T-shirts.
Yeah, I'm my favourite band. Yeah.
Oh yeah, great friends of mine. Yeah. Great. Nothing Less Than Jake. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, it is interesting. Yeah, when people start telling you what you sound like. I have had that before where I can't remember what it was, but they've like, oh yeah, you guys sound like such and such. It's like, oh. No. Well, if I'd known that when we were writing it, I would have gone the other way and done something else.
But yeah, we're just having fun with it. Like this band feels like we're 15 again because we're both just sort of going into a garage, playing guitars like really loud and just we're kind of mucking about until for the most part, and then we're sort of I think we've both agreed that if we can try and muck about to a professional level, that'd be pretty damn good.
Isn't that what we all do?
Honestly, yeah. Come to Froome tonight. We'll be mucking around half an hour.
We just wing it to a professional level. I think that's what most people do, isn't it?
Yeah. It keeps it fun though, doesn't it? Yeah. Like it's so easy to get really serious about things, and like especially I remember you saying before about like studio time as well. Like it's sometimes it just feels like, oh shit, we got to get this done. Like you got to be like really scheduled and this and that, and like the last songs we recorded was just really fun in the studio. It's like the most professional, but also the best time we've had as well.
Right.
It's like it's weird how it can be fun and productive as well. Like,
and do you think that obviously lends itself to greater creativity, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because you don't feel sort of like, pardon the pun, like under the gun.
Oh,
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So tell me what I find the most interesting. Well, not the most interesting, but one of the things I find really interesting about this band is that it's kind of got this duo vibe going on. Although you're not playing every instrument in the studio, are you? Or are you?
No, we got sessions for
right.
drums and bass.
We probably could. He's a really good drummer, but I thought, well, there's...
Take it.
Yeah.
He could be a really
good drummer. Yeah, I'll take it all. Bring him my way.
Yeah, he used to drum in Less Than Jake.
Yeah, I should have said that.
I think we because nowadays everything is digital up until a certain point. When we demo, it is just us two. We write, and James does play drums, so we finish the songs just together. But studio drumming, as you're aware, is a little bit tricky at times. So we've got a session.
Yeah, I'm not that good. I can make it sound really tight on the grid on Logic.
That's the problem with being able to do things on the grid as well. We write the drums for Dave Grohl to play them, or for Joey C to play them, and then we need to try and find someone in Cardiff who can
do that. Right.
That.
Okay. Interesting. So you program right. So you do write it all.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
so that's why you guys get all the glory. Right. Sorry, other bands. You're really good.
We actually track it. We track the drums live with everyone. We just got in a room and just played the songs over and over again to get that like kind of live feel.
Right.
And especially the first stuff, we couldn't afford to like have live drums or do anything, so it was all just done in a bedroom.
Like MIDI drums. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. The first four tracks or something we released.
I don't know. I didn't notice that.
It's because.
Yeah,
it's because Abe's really good.
Fucking nailed
producer
it.
Abe.
Yeah,
right.
Really
he is like just a nerd for it. He's really good. Like he's good at that.
He smashed it. Like to the point like unless you kind of told someone, you wouldn't really realize. But like we always felt it because we knew it.
It's there.
Dude, it's the worst. Yeah.
I'm gonna go and listen later, and I'm gonna be like.
So
that snare's the same every
yeah.
Abe's a funny one because he wishes he had so his studio is just in an apartment, kind of like a room like this, so he can't have drums. So he's actually spent a long time perfecting the art of like humanizing MIDI drums.
Right.
So he'll get the thing up on the screen, and obviously when we've put them in, everything is a perfect hit. So you got cymbal hits, and it's just a perfect.
Yeah.
Probably gave it all red.
He'll jump on there, and it's quite a painstaking process. But he'll spend ages clicking it, moving it ever so slightly out, put in the volumes, different levels,
different attacks,
and
things like that.
it's hilarious because it's that much effort to then try and make it sound like a human.
Right. So, but it's so much effort and time put into something that no one is supposed to notice has ever happened.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weirdly,
Yeah, it's
a strange mission, isn't it?
It's a strange workaround. But then again, being in a small band or being a small producer, it's pretty much all you do is find strange workarounds for things.
Yeah, I do. I find that interesting. Then it's like you've marketed it as YouTube, and I guess that's why, because you've written it all.
There's that, and honestly, it's hard to find the people who want to still try and do it at the level that we're hoping to, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It was hard enough trying to find. So the guys we've got on drums and bass now for this tour, it was hard enough trying to find people who were willing to go on a 24-day run.
Right. Because everyone wants to do it.
Everyone wants to.
Everyone thinks they want to do it.
Yeah.
Until you go, right, well, you've got to ask your boss now for a month of unpaid holiday. And then they all of a sudden get a bit,
it's tough, man. Like everyone.
My girlfriend isn't happy about me going.
No, mine's pretty cool. Like she knows that I'm a lifer now.
Right.
She probably regrets getting with me, but we're too far gone.
Trapped.
Yeah, but everyone in Holding Absence, it was the same. There got to a point where certain members left because they realized that they didn't want to have to get a new job every time a long tour came up. Whereas the rest of the guys who are still in that band, they've either got cool bosses who let them take the time off, or, so for example, Ash, who drums in Holding Absence, he just works at a coffee shop until they sack him because he can't, he keeps asking him time off, then goes to another one. And it's not for everyone because it's going to ruin your CV, and it's a lot of heads, it's a lot of stress.
Yeah.
But then ultimately you get to be in a band, which is the dream, really, isn't it? Like being able to do stuff all around the world.
And are you guys trying? Are you guys already thinking about like stuff like legacy? Because I mean, I was chatting to Harry about this earlier about Holding Absence. There's like, if Holding Absence stopped right now, there's I don't know how many tattoos there are.
Dude, it's mad, isn't it?
Of that moth skeleton thing. That would continue, wouldn't it? There's momentum in that, isn't there? That would like I know Joel from More Than Life, and they've not done anything for like 10 years, but they're still.
We were talking about More Than Life last night because our drummer, he's filled in for More Than Life a few times. He played in all those bands in that scene.
Yeah.
And we were saying we don't know why that band doesn't just do a tour a year to just cash in on and almost make their money back for all the effort they put in yesteryear. Because in Europe, that band is still just has diehard fans. At the drop of a hat, they would just fill, a 200 cap venue or something for them.
Yeah, I mean, easily. They could put out a new line of merch.
Yep.
On their website,
I'd probably buy one,
and it would just sell out. It's almost like, hey, you want $2,000?
Yeah.
That's what you got to do. Like it'd just be easy. It'd be easy money at this point, but they don't go down that route.
No.
It's interesting.
I respect it when bands don't milk it, because I'm not going to name any names, but there's definitely bands that I feel like they ruin their legacy by suddenly realizing they can make money again and just spaffing stuff out. But yeah, with I was just going to say, with the Holding Absence moth, that moth was never meant to be such a big thing. Right. It was going to be artwork for one single, and myself and Faisal, who used to be in the band as well, we bought it off a guy on Instagram for 20 quid. We saw it on his Instagram. He's this Viking dude who lives in the middle of nowhere and just does these crazy kind of skeletal figures. We were like, yeah, that's cool. What was that? Moth? Yeah, sweet, 20 quid. Put it out, and within like a few weeks, someone got a tattoo, and we started being like, okay, should this be our logo? Is this
Right.
like
Is this
in
bigger
the
than
same
us?
sense? I guess it's kind of like the when a band puts out an album and the thing from the album just becomes bigger than the band. Like with Nirvana, you have the angel from In Utero, or well, there's loads of things from different
Oh,
bands.
we have the FF on
Yeah.
Foo Fighters album.
Yeah. And that moth, just became such a big part of the band, but we all actually kind of hate it. I hate it personally because this is really lame, but because it's not anatomically correct. Moths don't have skeletons. And something about my brain, everything has to make sense. It's a terrible trait to have. But so once I realized that, I was like, oh God, can we just get rid of this? But then it's like, whenever we would try to do stuff without the moth, people would be like, do you have any of the moth stuff? And we'd be like, we will do soon.
Okay, all right, we'll do some
It's funny though, isn't it? These things, it's just...
I bet there's someone out there right now, well, not right now, but there'll be someone out there soon listening to this. And when you drop that, moths don't have skeletons, they're going to be like, oh shit. Oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh fuck.
Yeah, so someone's going to really go off their tattoo. Sorry about that.
They're going to go to a tattoo artist and be like, fill the rest in.
Yeah.
I want a whole moth now. Get rid of that skeleton. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that. That's interesting. That is interesting. Is there any cold gun tattoos yet?
Not
What is your logo thing? You
know
thinking
what?
about it?
This is
I haven't
something-
seen one.
When we started the band, this was one of the first things we started to think about, because I said to Biss, I knew the power of having a logo or an emblem or whatever you want to call it, and we really didn't want, the obvious one would be like some sort of cold gun, like someone said like a gun in an ice. But the thing is, we didn't want to have any association with guns. I know that sounds really like. This is really...
Boys.
This is like an existential crisis right now. But basically, when a band name is just a band name for the sake of just being a band name, we kind of wanted that...
Foo Fighters.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, there's no Foo anywhere, I don't think, on with them.
Weren't Foo Fighters
It's
UFO,
slang for,
isn't it?
Right,
UFOs,
right.
isn't it?
Yeah. But,
Well, have they ever done anything with aliens?
no.
No.
Apart from that little Reagan thing on the first album, but that's it though.
Well, Dave says he kind of, like your story with the moth, he
Yeah.
says he sort of regrets that because
Yeah.
if he'd known where they were going to go with that band, he'd have picked something better.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's a bad name.
I think...
It's a cool name.
It's all right.
With us, rather than having, because we thought about this for ages. We were like, we need something that can be on a sticker and on a shirt, and that is just us. And then what we realized is you can't. Sometimes you can if you've got a really obvious, like with your old band, for example, the S and the 1 makes total sense because. But with us, we tried a bunch of things and nothing felt right. So we realized what happens with a lot of bands, rather than them having a logo that matches up with the name, it's often a piece of imagery from a record or an EP that then sort of becomes, like, for example, the Blink smiley face was just an artwork originally, or like the again with the Nirvana In Utero thing, that people think that's their logo, but it was just a bit of art. So yeah, we haven't got anything yet, but I think we're definitely going to try and have some stuff on our artwork that people could get tattooed.
Something to latch onto. How are you with CDs and stuff? Like, that's a bit of a random question, but I collect CDs in that. But I know like there's a lot of bands that now will just skip that altogether and be like, hey, it's a short tape run. Here's a vinyl pressing. So what's your physical release stuff looking like?
So we're with Ven Records at the moment, which is Lags from Gallows, and he's a total dude. We have an EP that's going to come out. It was supposed to come out this year, but the production times, the vinyl lead times, and the CD lead times, because of numerous reasons, whether it's Brexit or the pandemic or when that ship got stuck in that canal, everything's
My fucking records are on that.
Yeah.
My fucking
That's where our
records are
CDs are. But, essentially, we're hopefully going to put out CDs and vinyl in the new year. We definitely don't want to forget about CDs because I like CDs, and I think so far, some of the older people who've been in crowds we've played to always ask if we have CDs, don't they?
Yeah.
Like it's,
They're still on the boat, sorry, mate.
yeah, they're on the boat. They're just turning the boat around when they sort that. Is that sorted now?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, that I think
Oh, I should be here then. Where are they?
that I think that affected something like 4% of global ship. I don't know what it was. There was when that ship got stuck in that canal, the ripple effect globally in that of all commerce and industry was something like 4%. Didn't sound like a lot, but like
Oh man, the whole world. Like,
yeah,
Wild.
that fucked shit up.
Imagine being like the guy that did that. Like you often think, oh, I'm having a bad day, but like,
How long till you call that one in? Do you know what I mean? Because like you're sat there, you know it's happened. Everyone can see it. Mm-hmm. How long until you pick up that radio and go, it's just like,
dude, I get panicky if I'm doing a 3-point turn and there's like 1 or 2 people waiting behind me in Tesco's. I'm like sweating. And I'm like, let alone that.
I would have been on the first lifeboat, just pegging it down the other end of the canal to try and just get out of there. Just head to the wilderness for like a few weeks, lay down, lay low.
yeah, hide. Well, we just before Sick Ones went on hiatus, we had a meeting with Lags at Ven, and we were talking about doing a split 7-inch with some I don't know who it would have been, but a band from the States, and we didn't feel like we had all the time with the chains and this stuff and life things that have to happen and stuff that we could really and pandemic commit to really going like you say, you know, larking about, but at a professional level, yeah, so I'm kind of, maybe we made the right choice there because we still wouldn't have our fucking records.
Yeah, they'd be on the boat. How, out of curiosity, how long do you take the chains? How long are you a mayor for? Is it a yearly thing or is it a couple of years?
Yeah, so May just gone, I got these, and then May coming, or next May, I will either hold on to them for dear life and go for another vote, or I will hand them off to. It's usually your deputy mayor,
Right?
Because it's like traditionally, it's like they have earned their stripes. They've watched you,
Got you.
do your job, and so they've learned, or they've filled in for you and got the experience.
Have you told them about all punk bands and things?
My deputy mayor is actually kind of punk rock herself.
Yes,
actually, yeah, she's in a band herself, not a punk band,
sick.
but so yeah, she's rad actually. Shout out Sarah, but yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot of people that would want me to go again, but it's pretty full on. I'm 6 months in, and my time is not my own, and I like it. Don't get me wrong, it's nice, but you belong. I don't belong 100% to me. I sort of belong to them as well, and so I have to go and do things and be in certain places at certain times, and it is time consuming. And it's like I think about it now, with working, with podcasting, with being a mayor, with being a town councillor, with moving out into a new place. In 6 weeks, I don't think I've had a day off.
Oh man.
Do you know what I mean? I've been at work, or I've then been off doing something, or hanging out with my girlfriend or whatever. So it's just like that. I haven't had any day where I'm like, I'm not doing anything today. I'm just off. So it is mad. So I think once this year is up, there will be a big part of me that's like, that was really rad. I didn't fuck it up. There was no scandals. Do you know what I mean? No one died on my watch. So it's time, it's time to
fingers
give
crossed.
this to
Yeah,
someone
that's
else.
There's still time.
There's still time for
Don't
death.
rule anything out.
Death and scandal. There was always time for death and scandal.
Oh man.
Yeah. So soon, 6 months, and then I'm out. But you can go again. You can go again. So I've been toying with the idea of flipping back down to deputy.
Oh, cool.
But I don't know. It's a time thing. Once that's up, it'd be nice to just like carve out some schedule and be like, oh, I remember what it was like to have more time. And then I'll be like, what the fuck am I going to do?
Dude.
And I'll fill it with something else.
I was chatting to our drummer about this. We were on a late night drive last night, and I was sort of saying, getting to the point in life where you sort of get to that age of you get to that age where you are an adult now. I'm definitely an adult now. I'm 26. I'm finally an adult, and like I have my own free will, and like I can choose to do whatever I want with my time.
Yeah.
Yet I still manage to complain no matter what I'm like last night I was like, God, this is tiring. I'm having like the best time, but I'm like, I'm tired. It'd be nice to just stay home actually. And then I think, well, but if I was at home, I'd be complaining I wasn't here. And you just you realize as an adult, the grass is just always greener in any situation.
Yeah, you're fucked. Whatever you do,
dude. I just want to be.
Life.
That's life.
Like now, I know why people say to kids like, just enjoy it while you can, kid. Like your priority is like RuneScape or Pokemon.
Yeah.
But like, I'm having existential crises every day.
Oh no, it is. Yeah, it's crazy. And in the pandemic, I mean, because like in Sick Ones, we were like you guys. We were very driven, and we wanted to be professional in what we did, but we wanted to have fun, obviously, and enjoy it, and have that creativity come easily. But we did so much, and when we'd go and do like a European tour, it'd be like, oh, that's really sick, and we enjoy it. But then it's like, what's next? And then you go, what's next? Oh, you want to go to America? Yeah, do that. What's next? Oh, well, we know we're coming back and playing House of Vans with Cancer Bats now. Okay, great. Boom. What's next? Cancer Bats tour. Take Kennedy's tour. Blah, blah, blah. EP, this, that. And you're doing all these bucket list things, or you're doing all these things that you're like, you always wanted to do, that you dreamt of doing in school or whatever. And it took the pandemic to like sit everyone on their ass and go, stop, you can't do this now. For me to look back and be like, oh, I wish maybe I just stopped and just was a bit more mindful in those situations. Just smell the roses a little bit more. Yeah. Although I remember moments like in America, just like when you can tell you're in a moment that's happening and you just think, I'm going to take all this in right now. I'm just going to quietly sit here and just like record this for me. Do you know what I mean? Like we all have those moments, but it's just kind of like, it's weird, isn't it? You realize you do loads of cool shit, but it's almost like not enough until you stop. And then you look back and you go, oh, that was really great. So it's one of those things, isn't it? Where if we did say, oh no, well, I'm tired, and it's like, I just want to go and do nothing. And then you stop and you go, oh wait, that was all so fucking cool. Like maybe I need to go and do it again. And then it's so you're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Absolutely.
Really.
I constantly have to tell myself that with, the whole, when we started this band, and especially recently, because we've actually been able to do shows in the past 2 months, I would always say, like, this band, I'm going to try and enjoy things and be a little bit less just anal about things, because with Holding Absence, I was because I was sort of the member of that band that was, I guess, almost like the manager figure. And, every band's got the one who actually...
Oh, Charlie for us was the commander of...
Every band's got a commander who's like, right then, boys, get in the van, we're going here, or like, this is where we're going for dinner, and we're loading it this time, that sort of thing. And I remember Holding Absence, for years and years and years, when we were doing the sort of smaller things, like all the pubs and whatnot, and, as fun as it is, you do deal with a lot of just shit, for a bit, want of a better word. I remember being like, right, we're playing Download Festival, I'm finally going to be happy, that's the day I'm going to like that's it. That's what everything's led up to. You play the Download set, it's just exactly the same as the set in the pub the night before. And for a second, you're like, wow, this is brilliant. Like, you get to post a picture of you on stage and all that. And then the next day, you're like, right, next year, I want to play the bigger stage at Download. And you're back in the trenches. And you realize, wow, you just don't take things for, you take everything for granted. You don't take a second to appreciate what you've done and where you're at. But so with this band, I'm trying to like not be less. I'm still fairly serious, but I am trying to be like, this is just awesome. We're getting to make music. It's the whole Dave Grohl thing of saying like, when making music is the success, not the success. Like,
right.
You should be happy and you should be having fun when you're making music, whether that's in the garage or at a show. Yeah. But yeah, it's very easy to get bogged down with all of the trying to turn it into a career stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that like the pandemic kind of helped kind of switch everyone's kind of mindset on that, because like not being able to do everything, then you're so appreciative of like everything you can do when it comes back. So like being able to go in like a little venue now and just play a sweaty show, it's like, oh my God, this is the best thing like ever. This is why like we do it. We fucking love this shit. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been an interesting couple of years, isn't it? For sure.
Last night was one of those shows. It was in Swindon. It was in this little venue in Swindon, and
Which venue?
the Vic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all right, yeah.
It was one of those shows where a few things went wrong. Like, you know, there were some power issues, something went wrong with the drums, there was some bits and bobs. But it was still like, it was one of the best shows we've played because the vibe was just, we were having fun. So the crowd were having fun. Everyone was on the same page and it was just awesome. And it made me realize if I'd have gone into that show with the attitude of this is going to be shit because something's going wrong, and then when it does go wrong, be angry, and it's just the whole show would just be a write-off. So I've started to realize it is your attitude. I feel like, again, it's like, without being like, PMA solves everything. In a way, it kind of does when it comes to touring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like I often find the days where I am being a little bit negative, that seems to be the days where things go even more wrong for me. Like I'll have a bad show and I'll bang my head when I'm trying to get off the stage. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, Henry Rollins said that there's a great quote from him, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but I'll sort of paraphrase it, where it was like, if you show up to that venue and there's 3 people there, that's not their fault.
Yeah.
You know, it's not, or one guy in the audience, that's not his fault that he's the only one there. He's paid his ticket to come and see you guys, but basically what he's saying is you have to play like there's 100 more of him because it's not his fault.
No, exactly.
But it is hard.
Yeah.
The funny thing with this tour as well is because it's a lot of people's first gig back after the pandemic, and like we get to be that band that like they see and they feel live music again. Like you feel the kick drum in your chest and like the bass and everything. Yeah. There's been a couple of nights as well. Like I always like to ask, and I'd be like, "Is this anyone's like first gig back?" And they're like, someone would be like, "This is my first gig ever." Yeah. And you're standing there like, "Oh shit!" Like
you don't think that some of those kids,
we're your first experience.
Because 2 years got knocked off the calendar, right?
So there's kids who would
look like they've been to loads of shows, but haven't.
So they would have gone to loads when they were 14, but now they're like 16 and they're only just going to a gig because they haven't had a chance. It's mental when you think of it.
But they spend more though, don't they?
Yeah, hopefully.
Well, they spend more.
Yeah. That's it. We often find as well, like the people you meet.
Yeah, we just glide past that.
Yeah.
Money talk. We're not businessmen, we're musicians.
We often find though the people you meet in the sort of strangest of places, you know, and 9 times out of 10 now will be a pub in what the professionals would call as like a B market or a C market or whatever. Often the people you meet there are the people who actually then come back to shows, and they're the people who are really vocal on social media, always praising you. The people who see you in the A markets, you know, your Londons and your Cardiffs and your Bristols, those are the sort of fair weather people because they get to see so many bands that they don't. I don't feel like they. Not always. They don't connect as much. Yeah. They're not like, thank you for coming to our town, because they're like, I'm going to another gig that's even better tomorrow. And you guys were cool. Yeah, I'll see you again in a few years. Whereas like last night, people in Swindon were like, come back next year. Like, you guys were amazing. Like one guy came up and he was like, again, a bad take, but he was like, you're the best band that's ever played yet. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, thanks.
Yeah, I hate that stuff. It's nice, that stuff.
Yeah.
I hate that stuff as well because it's all almost like you're talking out your ass.
Yeah.
There's none of this. It's like, you might as well be coked up because I don't believe anything you fucking say.
Yeah. You sound like Lester than Jake, and you're the best band.
Cocaine. Sorry. Get him out of here. Fucking talking my ear off. Yeah, I had that in. We were in Mansfield, Ohio, and it was snowing, and it was a bit bleak, and all those houses were boarded up, and it was like Rust Belt, America. A guy came out the venue, and it wasn't even particularly, I would say, a noteworthy show, other than that Ben had American flag boxer shorts on. Yes. We got on and started playing, and he did a little strip thing and pulled them down, thinking that the Yanks were going to be like, hell yeah, you know what I mean, like America and that, and they just looked at him like, are you disrespect? Like, because you know, he's got the flag wrapped around his cock and he's a British dude. Do you know what I mean? So there was a moment where I thought the crowd was going to turn off. No. He was doing it like, we love America.
Yeah.
And they were all like, you disrespecting our flag. And it was weird. So it was odd to see them. It was odd to see him have to charm them round into actually being like, oh yeah, this is sick. Oh,
Yeah.
But we got outside and it was, as I said, it was snowing. So I was just kind of like, just catching a minute. Just didn't want to be out there too long. Just letting the sweat get cold or whatever.
Freeze on you.
Freeze on treat.
I just needed some space and some air, you know. And this guy came out and he was like almost as big as me. And he was basically sobbing. Because he was like, no one comes to this town and does anything. Which I was like, Dive Bomb are your hometown band. Like, they're sick.
They're
like,
real,
they're so good. But like, he was like, yeah, no one comes here. And he was like, he's never left his state. And he was really moved that like anyone, like, and I didn't have the heart to say like, it's just on the itinerary. We just show up where we've been booked. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I hope he doesn't
I'm
listen
sorry,
to
mate,
this.
I didn't choose to play here, but I'm here and it's been nice. But it was just like, for him, it was like, we'd come in like chosen, like Mansfield. We're coming for you.
Yeah,
So I mean,
yeah.
like, we just arrived and played. That's where we were told to play by the booking agent. So but it was interesting because he was just like crying basically.
Yeah.
And I wonder, like, in those situations, I kind of like wonder, like, what is your life when you go home? What happens? What happens,
Dude,
to you? Like,
something-
what is your life like?
I actually really like those experiences now because for the longest time, so to be honest, with starting another band again, especially a band which, on first glance, you know, we're not a political band. We're not like, our band doesn't really have a mission statement or a really obvious mission statement. And coming from Holding Absence World, that band sort of adopted quite an easy mission statement in the sense that it's emotional music for like emotional young people, really. So with this band, I was a bit like torn of like, do we like, what are we doing this for? I think coming from punk rock, like all my favorite bands, you know, whether it's Bad Religion or Refused or Propaganda or whoever else, I was like, oh, Biss, is this like just self-serving like rubbish?
Right.
And we spoke randomly as we were starting this band. I was speaking to Will from Creeper in Salem about this loads, and I was like, man, I feel like I don't want to do a political band, but I need to know that there's more to this band than just me trying to be cool and just playing guitar. And well, he was like, well, yeah, man, of course there is. You know, you're providing escapism and like a good time for someone that might have nothing else to look forward to. And then,
Right.
So now I think of it like that. I'm like, oh my God, yeah, that's exactly it. Like, if someone in Swindon came and cried to me last night and was like, man, like, I can't believe you're here. Now I'd be like, oh my God, that's great. I've actually, you know, it's not like I've helped them in the same way that, like, you know, I'm hardly Mother Teresa or anything. But like, it's cool to know that you've made someone else happy.
Yeah.
You know, it's cool to know that this isn't just us two, like, you know, jerking each other off with guitars. Like, do you know what I mean, though?
Yeah. Yeah. No. And it sounded like I didn't appreciate that guy in that story. I did.
Oh, no, for
it's
sure.
just weird when a massive man cries on you
Dude, absolutely.
in a town that.
Do you want me to do that later?
Yeah.
A little group cry sesh.
Take me back. Take me back. Make me feel important again. Yeah, it is interesting that like how people respond to things, because again, like once you've put it out there, you have no control over the fandom or whatever, and it is weird that, you know, it's like those experiences that you think when you're in school and you're like listening to these bands and you're reading about them and stuff and Kerrang and other things like that, and you think, God, their life sounds so cool. These people just like chase the bus and want to like, oh, I want to come in like Beatlemania, and like, oh, I'm that mad, and then when you do something that people really connect to and they really love, and they come and tell you about it, and it is a bit like what you've read about, and people do get kind of emotional, act a little strange, or maybe cross a boundary or something and tell you that you sound like less than Jake. It's like, just feels a bit weird, doesn't it? And it's sort of like there's a weird conversation that I've had with myself where it's like, well, kind of like, that was what you're going for, isn't it? You're going for like some success and people really enjoying what you do, and you wanted your music to be enjoyed beyond you, and that's kind of the route that you have to take, and you knew that. But then, like, you know, when you give someone a drumstick and they start crying, you're like, I don't know what to do. I read about it and I thought that would be a weird, cool experience. But in the moment, it's like, I feel nothing. This is weird.
Yeah.
It's just weird.
It's a funny one, isn't it?
Yeah.
I guess.
But it does mean something after the fact when you think about it. But and you go, oh, well, okay, well, that was like, I hope I handled that right, or I hope that I didn't feel like I didn't care or something. Yeah. But in the moment, I'm like, I'm not socially equipped for this.
No, it can be really hard socially sometimes. I always just think about, like, I have to sometimes just remind myself that I was that person. Like, I didn't do as much of it.
I've never been that. I've never been crying on.
Not quite. I was the big guy.
Man, Jerry, I love you.
Yeah. There was definitely a period though where, like, and you don't really know why. I guess it is just adoration or respect for these musicians. But like, there's maybe for like a year or two when I was like 15, 16, where I would just sort of lurk around the city and hope that I'd bump into someone. Right. And I wouldn't really know what I was hoping to get from the transaction of meeting them. It was more just a case of like, I love you, man. Like, and that, but it's funny to think like that back then did so much for me that I'd be buzzing off that for a week. You know, if I was in, you know, I remember being in Cardiff and you know, bumping into, I don't know, someone from like the Descendants or something. I'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe this. And then now if I did that, I'd be like, oh, hey man, like your band.
Right. And that's the other thing as well, isn't it? Is that you think that that's going to be really cool when you finally get to hang out and like rub shoulders with these people, or maybe you're you're supporting a band and backstage is their friend who's a big deal or something. Mm-hmm. And you think, oh, that's great because those you know, I get to like, and then you get in that position and you're like, oh, I'm not allowed to do that.
Yeah, you don't want to be a punisher,
right? Or you've seen enough of it and you've grown up past that point then, or the success that leads you to those moments comes past the point where you would have enjoyed it the most, and you kind of go, oh, that kind of would have been quite cool like 5 years ago, but it's just kind of like, no.
I think,
and you kind of almost feel a bit like, have I kind of bored all of the enjoyment out of this? Like,
I think you just got to take stock, haven't you? Like sometimes I'll look back and think, wait a minute, 15-year-old James would be like, just could, like, for example, this Holding Absence a few years back got to tour with the band called, well, we did these festivals in Germany with a band called Stick to Your Guns. And for me, when I was like 15, they were like my gateway hardcore band. They were the band that, you know, wasn't the coolest hardcore band in the world to be into, but they were inspired by the coolest, you know, that band then got me into Bad Religion and got me into Propaganda and Trial and all these cool like bands to be into. And we toured with them and just hanging around with them every day. I was like, oh yeah, these guys are really nice. Like I used to love their band sort of thing. And I thought nothing of it. And then there was a couple of nights where I shouted for them on stage and stuff. And then I think it hit me like a month later when I got home. I was like, oh my God, imagine telling like 15-year-old James who would like do anything for that band that he'd be there.
Yeah, but that's what I'm talking about. Is when you finally get to do those things, you've kind of grown up so much and matured so much that they don't hit in the way that you think they would when you conceived the idea. So when we did the Dead Kennedys tour, yes, that was cool, right? And turning around and seeing the DK backdrop was fucking cool. But yeah, it's weird. You sort of like just weird yourself out about it because you kind of go, yeah, cool, this is cool.
Yeah. Do you have anyone that would get you like...
Dave Grohl, I would be like, Dave, I love you.
Yeah.
For sure. But like, yeah, it's weird. It is weird because you know it's cool and you love it. But yeah, like we were saying, it's like, what's next then? And there's just like, it's kind of like sometimes
I think
it's like...
For me, the dream really now is to like get to the point where they're your peers rather than like a one-time, like to the point where like rather than being like, oh my God, Dave Grohl, I'd be like, oh, Dave, do you want to come and like work on a track? Like, you know, like how for example, like
You want them to respect you.
that band like Royal Blood now has like Lars from Metallica. Even this is a terrible thing because it's just Lars, but you know what I mean. Like I remember like Royal Blood coming out and they played Reading and it's like Lars from Metallica's watching them, like Alex Turner from Arctic Monkeys is watching them, like, and they've just done a song with Josh Homme, and like that is now where you know you'd like to be, rather than just getting to support them maybe like once or twice or bump into them at a festival or something.
Yeah, and that's the other thing as well, isn't it? Is that if you come over to these people in that fan mode, then they're going to put you in fan mode, and that's kind of what I meant. Is that when if you see these people at a function or a function, if you see these people at backstage or whatever, you don't want them to be like, oh, it's just a fan. Do you know what I mean? You kind of want to be. You want to treat them like normal and be like, oh, I really like what you did, or it meant a lot to me. But you don't want them to walk away thinking, all right, I'm going to avoid that guy later if I see him at the bar.
Oh yeah, so true.
But it's kind of difficult sometimes, isn't it? Because you want to like steal that person's time and have a proper and do this and have a proper conversation. But you also don't want to be like, am I just talking 100 miles an hour?
I think as well, they probably have those conversations with so many people, and you're like, I just don't want to be like another one of them. I prefer to like not say anything than to like put yourself in like that box of just, there he fucking is again, that one, you fucking...
Yeah, I met that Jonathan Pye guy who does that.
Oh yeah.
And I just...
He does the news report.
The news thing. And I was like, Jonathan. And he looked and I was like, sup? And I just left it. I was like, he'll probably remember that more than being like, hey, you're that man off YouTube.
Yeah.
So I just want to be like, hi, like, but don't like, leave it. Not that I have any like real like gushing love for him, but it was like sometimes I feel like, and like Ben Elton or whatever, that stand-up guy, I met him, I was in Froome just after he'd done his first stand-up show in like I don't know how long. And I was just like, hey, how's it going? He was like, cool. And I was like, how was the show? Just talk to him normal, and then was like, oh, I'm glad it went well, you know, catch you next time. And it was, you could tell that sometimes they're a bit like, oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Phil Jupiter, so I met, and I was like, where are you playing tonight? And he was like, oh, just down there. I was like, oh, that's a lovely place. That. And it's just you just don't, if you just on a level with them, then they're not like, you just get weird about it. They just don't want to hang out with you.
It's probably quite refreshing for them, really, just to have someone, because like at the end of the day, like you look like especially bands as well. Like you look at bands, you think, oh my god, they're like, you see them on stage, like, oh my god, amazing, like they're my heroes or whatever. But like ultimately, they've just been fucking about for years and years, but just to a high standard and keeping it going. They're just a person.
Yeah.
And like.
Yeah, so we had Huey Morgan from the Fun Loving Criminals, who was backing us a lot and playing us on BBC Six, and he lived in Froome. And I was, at the time, pre-Sick Ones, I was doing a radio show and he was doing a radio show. And I was just cool to him when I saw him for like a year, and I didn't tell him I did radio, I didn't tell him I did anything, because I didn't want to be one of these parasites that are like, oh, come and go on my radio, come on my radio show, or listen to my radio show. Oh, do you want to play on this track on my band? We'll do this. And for a year, I was just cool, just treating him like normal. He knew I knew who he was, but just cool. And then when I had something of some substance to you know, they're invested, they care then, and it's like, and then they take you seriously. And then he was opened some doors and was like really supportive. But if I'd gone over to him the first time I met him and been like, oh, you are Scooby Snacks, you know what I mean? Like, he wouldn't be playing Sick Ones on the BBC, because he'd just be like, oh, fuck's sake, no, that guy. It's interesting.
It is. I had a funny friendship happen over lockdown. You're probably familiar with Dirty Sanchez back in...
I saw that. You've been running with Pritchard, haven't you?
This is a weird one, because I sort of... Obviously, when we were like in that perfect age of like sort of MTV being a big thing, and you know, it was music on it, and it was basically all day you'd have like Limp Bizkit and Blink-182, and then in between that you'd have Jackass or Dirty Sanchez on the telly.
The Dudesons.
And the Dudesons. Dude, the Dudesons are probably my favourite. I find those so funny. Like it's the Scandinavian like mannerisms and stuff. But and I noticed that Pritchard runs around a loop that literally passes my flat every day. Right. And this one day I was like, I'd love to go for a run with that guy, just to see, you know, just have a chat with him. He'd be a cool running partner to have, because I didn't have anyone to run with. So I just hit him up out of the blue, like don't know him, he doesn't know
What,
me.
in the street or?
Oh, just on Messenger.
Right.
And I was like, hey man, fancy a run? And he was just like, yeah, sounds good, man. See you in the morning. I was like, and then the first few times I ran with him, I just didn't. There were so many things I wanted to ask him. You know, like how was it? Well, I can't really say any of this stuff on the podcast, but just
You can say whatever the fuck you want.
You know, how was it cutting your finger off on that one episode? Like, what was it like drinking a pint from someone's ass? You know, just the things like, you know, like all these
Burning questions.
like have you got any scars? Yeah, that sort of thing. But I was just cool with him, just speaking to him like any mate. Oh, how's things going? You been up to much recently? And then the next day he was like, should we run again tomorrow? And I was like, yeah, cool. And I started to be like, this is pretty cool. Like we're sort of like, I'm running with someone who, when I was younger, he was like a celebrity at that point, and you know he like,
still is. I mean, he's had some like a pretty successful vegan cookbook come out.
Yeah, he's done the whole wreck head to sober like Iron Man thing that so many people in punk have done.
Yeah, it's and Dayton.
Yes,
he's in your neck of the woods, isn't he?
Yeah.
Do you know him?
A little bit, not as well. I knew him when I was younger through skateboarding, but not so much now. Right. But yeah, it was one of those things. I was very aware not to be a punisher and tried not to pry, even though I wanted to.
Yeah.
So I think he probably appreciated that, because if I'd have gone in straight away, like first minute of the runs, so I was Dirty Sanchez then, he'd just be like, oh mate, like
still got that ring in your knob?
Yeah. I might just ask that.
You're still carrying bricks for your dick?
Yeah, innit? But and as a result, obviously, like gained his trust. He told me a lot of really interesting stories that have, you know, made running with him a breeze, because we don't realize how much the run sucks. It's just we're, you know, sharing funny stories back and forth, because you know we both do such strange things with our lives.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's advice to anyone out there: don't be a punisher. Be cool.
Be cool.
Be cool.
Be cool. I'm very aware that there's a few times in this conversation where I've been like, oh, he's crying on me. I sound like a complete dick. It's just weird. It's just odd. I just find it odd to me. But yeah, what was I going to say? I've got Charlie's got Charlie in Sickness. He's got one of his best friends is really into trail running.
Oh, cool.
And he got chatting to this guy, and they became quite close, and they started sharing like ideas and just generally being like enjoying the culture and sharing that, you know, this hobby of theirs. It turned out it was like the singer of Def Cab for Cutie.
Really?
No. But like they don't really talk music or anything like that. Wow. They just do their trail running stuff, and he's aware obviously that he's in this cool band. But like, yeah, it's odd, isn't it?
It's quite healthy to have a hobby completely outside of music.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I'm in the mood some days I'm in the mood to talk music, and I'm like, oh God, I love music. It's the best thing in the world. Like I could just talk about it all day. And then other days, if it's someone who's okay, actually no, I don't mind talking about music to people who've also done it. So like we could have a conversation about music and touring and everything. But if it's someone where it's more of a one-sided conversation and they just want to ask things, I'd rather just talk about them. I'd rather ask. I'll meet up with one of my best friends who has a more sort of normal life, and he'll ask me about the band. And I'm like, oh, can we tell me about accounting? How's accounting going, man? Like, I want to know everything. Like, I'd way prefer to just. You
do end up feeling like a scratch record a little bit, don't you? Because you end up going over this. I don't know. Like, I started a new job recently, and I felt like in the first week or two, I had the same. Almost like the same script over and over with people, because they you're in a band, are you? And you go,
Biss does extra work, so he times that by 100.
Right.
He meets so many people,
and you just have this like go-to of like answers, don't you? Of like just kind of, it's almost like a dialogue tree in a video game. It's like, which one do I pick? I'll go.
You pick the right ones every time though. After like the first 5 goes, you know exactly what to say.
Exactly right. So your options diminish to like the line.
I never know whether to say. It's a very British thing, but I never know whether to be really overly humble and just say it sucks, or or sometimes be like, actually, yeah, it's the coolest thing in the world. I love it, because that's what I just
not
don't,
for the weak.
Yeah, it's not for you. You would never
figure it out from there.
But yeah, so sometimes I just don't know. Like I've had conversations where I'm like, oh yeah, it's not that good. Like I'd love to have a job like you, and then I'm other days where I'm like, no way. I love being in a band.
Strange, isn't it? It's different. Sometimes we wake up with a hat on that we didn't like choose to put on, and it's just It's I've had. I mean, with the mayor thing, it's like I was trying to just go and do a bit of shopping the other day, and I was every few meters I was getting stopped, and it's really lovely. It's really, really lovely that people know who you are and they want to talk to you.
People can't miss you, man. I know how it is as well.
They can't miss you and stuff, but it's like yesterday I went to buy a sofa, and the guys in the sofa place wanted a picture of me on the sofa, and then took a picture of me carrying the sofa out of the place. Do you know what I mean? It was like it's a bit like I just want to get a sofa. I don't really.
Did you
want
get
a
a
picture
sofa?
of me carrying a sofa on Facebook? Do you know, it's weird. Like, but you go, yeah, cool. You know, it's easier to just go, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
I'll put my feet up on your sofa.
How do you find being tall? Seeing it's like you're one of the only people I know who's like my height-ish or even bigger.
Bigger. No. I like it. My favourite line is when people go, they're like, I'm only about 6'3", and I go, I remember when I was 6'3".
I'm gonna steal that one. That's good. I always say, people go,
I was 12.
Yeah. People always go, how tall are you? And I'm like, I just say, too tall.
Too tall for you, honey.
Like, it's a funny one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's weird.
It's weird. Some days I'm just really not in the mood for it, and it like really makes me feel like too seen. Like sometimes I like it. Like if it's like a nice old lady in a cafe and she says it in a really endearing manner, kind of like the guy who said you about Less Than Jake. It's sort of like, oh, aren't you tall? I'm like, fuck yeah, like I am. But the other day, if it's just like some fucking dickhead dude who's like, oh, fucking, don't hit your head now, but I'm just like, oh man, like I wouldn't say like you're fat or like you're short, like come on.
It's so annoying.
Yeah.
And the amount of times I get tagged in that thing where like someone's printed out a card saying, yes, I'm 6'10", and no, I don't play basketball, and the weather is the same up here, and they go, oh, Andy, you need one of these. It's like, you have done the same thing as the people in the street who asked me that fucking script. You just don't notice you've done it.
Oh man.
Like I'm going to reach in my pocket when someone says something, silently give a card to someone. Like it's like just like socially, that's way more effort than just going, no, I don't play basketball.
Yeah.
Right. But okay, I'm aware that you probably need sound check soon. So what is next for Cold Gun? Have you got new music in the works? Have you what's happening?
Yes, we do. So it was meant to be out this year, but it's going to be starting next year now.
Stuck on the evergreen.
Still on the boat.
But whatever it's called.
Yeah. Yeah, our CDs are in the canal at the moment.
We forgot the songs, but they're on there, so we can't listen to them.
Yeah,
so remind us.
They're coming. But yeah, it'll be starting next year. We're just playing loads of shows at the moment, so we're just going to be, for the rest of this month, we're everywhere.
Just enjoying.
We really are.
Yeah. And then a bit of time off for Christmas, probably going to get our heads down and just write all the next stuff.
Yeah.
And then just play as many shows as possible next year.
Sick. Has the Cold Gun got a Christmas classic single in them?
Do you know what?
Yeah, we talked about this today before.
Yeah, our friend basically said, I'll do you a free studio time if you can do us a Christmas, but I just don't know. I'd love
I think
to.
You should do it. I mean, you've told people now.
Yeah,
so.
We'll give it a go.
Christmas songs are hard.
They are.
Yeah, they are. But if you distill all of the classics, it's
True.
like there's not that much in this.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe
As long as you get the jingle bell in the background.
Yeah,
that's it.
yeah.
All right.
Sleigh bells.
Well, if we just do a normal song and just have the sample jingle bell just throughout the whole of it.
Well, a lot of the Christmas classic songs are like, is it a Christmas song? Like, strange, isn't it?
Oh yeah, true.
Like Mad World.
We could write like the Die Hard of Christmas songs.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Yes. Go and do that.
All right.
Yeah.
James of the Cold Gun. Go and do that.
Yeah.
Thanks. Thanks very much.